Hello friends and welcome back to Generation Pixel, and today, well, I'm going to be talking about one of the most exciting and equally nerve-wracking times in any gamer's life. And that is quite simply put, when one of the franchises that you absolutely adore puts out either the next game in the series, a prequel, a sequel, a reboot, a remake, or in this case, a spiritual successor. Because for me, the Suikoden series is absolutely god tier. And today, well, I'm going to be playing the first of the spiritual successor games, Eiyuden Chronicles Rising. If you want to see how I got on with this game for the very first time, you just wait until after these. And there's my first thumbs up. You've got the little running character in the bottom corner, and that just takes me back to Suikoden. And we go look at this artwork, and you've got these, 32-bit, let's call them 32-bit pixel characters. And straight into a character description with that wonderful anime style. So far so good with this game. Yes, I mean, I'm just trying to take in as much as I can of this opening scene. You've got some lovely backgrounds, you've got some lovely foregrounds. You can see that branch swaying there at the bottom right hand side of the screen. So yes, without a doubt, this is a good start. This is a very pretty start to this game. Have however noticed that we're not getting voice acting. Now that's not a deal breaker because voice acting wasn't a huge deal. Certainly wasn't used in Suikoden and Suikoden 2, so I'm sure I'll go over that as long as there's just not too much story delivered and the story flows quite well through the gameplay. And of course we're in the tutorial level, so we're going to have a lot of text thrown at us. We're going to have to get pulled into this story, this game somehow, so we'll just have to bear with it, no doubt, for the first little bit at very least. But it looks like we're probably heading towards our first battle, our first taste at the combat in this game, so that is something that I'm really looking forward to seeing how they handle. Okay, so we've got 3 buttons for attack, well, 3 buttons for the combat. We've got an attack button, a jump button and a unique skill button. This is quite interesting because this is very simplistic, and I don't know whether this is going to remain like this in the game or not, but we'll have to have a look and see. So combat, what can I say, it's basic so far. I'm just mashing the 1 button and taking out the bad mobs. It's as simple as that. So yes, they're definitely taking you by the hand for this first combat stage, and you know what, I'm glad of that. I want eased into this game. As I said before, if you know the channel, if you know me, I don't play a lot of action RPGs, so let's ease me in rather than make it overly complicated at the start, and that's what they've done here. And we've been introduced to a second character, Hogan, and he got that wonderful big anime splash screen there, so he's probably going to be an important character. And as I've said about the Suikoden games, it's the amount of characters that you interact with and find on your journey that made that game special. So it's looking like we're going to be getting quite a few characters in this game that possibly will be in your party at some point, although so far there's been no mention of any party mechanics. I'm positive that will come as the game progresses though. And of course we've had mention of a town, and hopefully a town's going to be some sort of hub area, an area where I can shop and upgrade weapons and things like that, because it's an RPG. And this obviously is looking like what I'm heading towards now, which is the most interesting thing about any RPG. It's sometimes not so much about the gameplay, but how you develop your character throughout the gameplay. And with Suikoden there was a lot of politics in the game. It was about finding an ally or finding allies out there in the world and forming relationships with different groups of people. I'm getting this vibe straight away from this game because obviously talking about the mayor and an invitation to scavengers, well, we'll just have to see. And again, I'm still drawn in with this wonderful graphical style. You've got that wonderful parallax scrolling going on there, which is no problem for modern machines, but back in the day that was a big deal, and it still kind of draws you into the scene when you're watching it play. And we've been introduced to Squash, another character, lovely big splash screen. That's the third character we've seen in short order, so this really is shaping up to be a game that will have a host of wonderful characters for us to get to know and hopefully get to utilise in some form or another, whether it be in a party or whether it be in other interactions during the game. But yes, this is definitely capturing my attention straight away. Wonderful. I'm so glad this seems to be shaping up the way I want it to. And there you go, we need a license, so this is going to be our first quest. We're going to have to somehow acquire this license to go scavenging and get whatever CJ has come here to acquire. So we've had 3 introductions to what are possibly main characters in the game, a little taster of the combat, and now we're going to be introduced to our first quest line. Well, first impressions of the town is it's in a pretty sorry state, and I would imagine from what I've read that this is a major part of the game where we have to get this town back on its feet and up and running the way it was before. Now obviously we don't know how it was before, but I'm sure that will develop through the story. And there we go, earthquake. So obviously there's a lot of seismic activity, and I don't know whether that's just natural or maybe there's something supernatural causing that, but I can see this being a big part of the storyline. So finally we get introduced to some menu features, and we can check out a mini map, we can check out what quests we've got going, we can check out obviously what items we have in our inventory, and most importantly we can check out the stats of our character. And hopefully that's going to be building to more characters, because there's not many JRPGs out there where you're limited to one character in a party, because party mechanics are just so important. There are of course other things that we can check out in the menus, and it's shaping up to be quite nice at the moment. Obviously I haven't had the opportunity to delve into these because this is just the tutorial level, but here we are meeting the mayor, and hopefully we'll get cracking with this first quest and see how things are going to progress as the story and the gameplay goes on. And the Mayor Isha is another main character, so again they're throwing these characters in thick and fast at the beginning, which is good because at the beginning of the Suikoden games you had a fairly substantial party to start with quite early on. You at least had one other person that you could control in your party, but you always had the sense that the game was just full of characters, which was one of the things that made Suikoden so special. So yes, there's a fair bit of dialogue because it's the beginning of an RPG, but we're finally on to properly getting into a quest here, and we're looking for the characters in the town that need help, and once we get the help that they need, then they're going to stamp this card we've been given, and once we've completed that we can get our license, which I would imagine would be the main part of the game. But at the beginning, yeah, you've got to earn your keep, and that's the same with many JRPGs, so this town is going to be getting my help hopefully really soon. And of course there's a lovely JRPG trope, a cat saving mission. So at last we're out of the hub world of the town, the village, and into what looks to be the first dungeon of the game. And this is where I'll finally find this cat that I've been chatting to so many people in the town about. But here we go, let's check it out. And wonderful to have a save point there right at the beginning of what is definitely a dungeon, because that's where the save points come in JRPGs. It's another trope, but it's a necessary trope. If you don't have a save point at the beginning of a dungeon, then you know you're going to just end up dying and going back to the beginning of maybe 2 or 3 hours gameplay. Combat again is just the same as the tutorial. It's one hit, well, not one hit on the characters, it's just one button to strike the enemy mob and a couple of hits and they're gone, which is quite nice. The jumping's quite fluid, the response time's great, and so far so good. Obviously this is our first dungeon, so they're not going to throw too much at us. And level up, oh, that's just a wonderful thing to see. There's nothing better to see in any JRPG, any role playing game, than that level up splash up onto the screen and you know you're making progress. And there we go, we have the cat, hopefully, yeah, that must be the cat. We're going to save, take back to the little girl in the town, and that'll be our first side quest done. Or not really a side quest, because this is what I need to do to get on with the main mission. So come on cat, let's get you back home. Okay, so that was interesting. I'll fade to black after completing that quest and straight back to where you need to go. Normally you would have to run all the way back through the dungeon and get there, but this time it's taking you back. Now I don't know whether that's going to be the same for every quest or whether they're just throwing us a bone here because it's our first one, but I was okay. I got through that first dungeon, got the cat, got it back to where it belongs, and I'm quite happy that I'm probably going to get my first stamp in this game, which is what I need to do to progress to the game proper. Now I don't know how many of these side quests I'll have to do for that, so what I'm going to do now is not cover every side quest that I'm doing, but I'm going to jump back in when something exciting seems to be happening, so bear with us as we jump and progress through the first part of this game. So we're back at it with the second quest, and the second quest has sent me back into the dungeon to find resources. I have to find some wood, I have to find branches to take back to the little girl with the cat's dad so he can build his house again. So I thought we would have another look properly at this dungeon and see if the combat progresses as we go in for a second time. I'm telling you though, the visuals in this game are absolutely stunning for what it is. So as you can see, we're past the bit with the cat. We had to beat our way through some wall there, and then we've got flying enemies, so let's jump and hit though. I landed before I hit that one, and it looks like I can just take them out on the ground as well as jump. They don't seem overly menacing, they seem quite cute actually, so I think I feel slightly bad taking these little fuzzballs out. And there we saw the flashing tree, the tree that's obviously indicating that's a resource that we need to collect. Again, a lot of people don't like tropes like that in games, but they're handy because it highlights what you need to do. And I've come to a dead end, so obviously, yeah, you can see from the count on the top of the screen that I've got enough of the supply that I need to take back and finish this quest, so I'm going to stop commentating now and jump onto another interesting development in the game. Now we're back with the commentary because we're on to the third quest and back into this forest. So it looks like this forest dungeon's something we're going to have to visit time and time again and get resources that we need from each quest. This time we're looking for a giant tree in the Great Forest, but just to go back to what we've missed before in the gameplay, once I completed that second quest, what happened was I managed to build up a home for myself. So taking that lumber back to the dad of the little girl made it possible for me to have a base in the village. So that's progressing just as I would expect a Suikoden game to progress. And yeah, back to fighting these fluff balls and looking for a great tree in the forest. And because we've been in here a few times, I want to talk more about the visuals and of course the music. The music is lovely, it's so sedate, it's so very JRPG, plays along in the background, doesn't overwhelm me at all. I'm sure it'll build if anything exciting happens, but at the moment I'm just enjoying this journey. And look at the lighting effects on that cave wall and the way that the foliage moves in the front ground. It's just, they've put a lot of detail into what is basically just a little teaser game, a game that they're using to draw people in to hopefully go on to buy 100 Heroes. So great work so far. I'm loving what I'm seeing, I'm loving what I'm hearing, and I'm thoroughly enjoying what I'm playing at the moment. Yes, it's a little bit in the basic side, but I'm at the beginning and I know as I go through this game things will probably open up a great deal more. And as I said, the combat is quite simplistic at the moment, but I'm enjoying it thoroughly, and not only that, you do get better at it as you go along. You become more fluid with the combat style. But I know the game is lulling me into a false sense of security. I know something's going to happen. There's going to be some sort of boss fight along the way somewhere, and I'm going to have to up my game, because so far it's been just too much of a breeze to pass through this dungeon. And if I haven't mentioned before, signposts are like save points. It's a place where you can save your game. Now, if I'm getting a save point part way through a dungeon, then I have no doubt whatsoever that I'm about to face a boss, because again, JRPG tropes, gaming tropes in general, you'll either see an area open up in front of you, or you'll get some sort of save point or a lot of health stuff. And no, it looks like I can't progress that way, so I'm being forced along here, breaking all the breakable scenery, which is wonderful. I love that as well, and anybody that knows me knows that about me. But I'm just dreading it now, because I know after having a save point so late on, and this is an interesting, it's not the boss, it's too easy for it to be a boss, but another interesting mob that I've got to work out, and there you go, he's over quite easily. But I'm sitting now on the edge of my seat. I can sense that, and look at that, there we go, we're into a new area, and just take solace in that loading screen. And oh, a boss already? I don't know. Quite exciting stuff, this. We're gonna have a conversation with this boss first. Just a plain rock. It doesn't look like just a plain rock to me. It looks like some sort of ancient markings on that. And so I'm asking this character about the tree, and no, I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be a boss or not. Now, he's told me it's crawling with monsters, so that there is possibly a main character we've just met, and that happens a lot in the Suikoden games as well. So here we go again, we're off on to the journey through this. Oh, we've got sparkly stuff there as well. Take care of the fluff ball and pick up stuff. Yeah, that's good. So I'm getting quite nervous, I won't lie, I'm getting nervous now. There's another one of these spitting creatures that's won that time. No, there we go, and fires out lots. I'll have to work out their pattern. My health is getting low, but I'm not overly worried at the moment because, as I said, so far this has been easy. I will be sort of stilted in my progress here as I'm expecting a boss fight, and as such I should probably take that health potion. But more of the trees to collect resources, and I've been able to collect the same resources throughout this dungeon on each of the visits, so it's another thing that I can imagine is something I'm going to be doing, coming back here and grinding or farming for stuff. And lots of fur balls here, and they're away. And a treasure chest. Oh, gotta love a treasure chest. What did we get? We got a healing potion just after taking one, so I'm quite happy about that. But again, there's that trope. We're going to face a boss soon, I have no doubt about it. We've had a mid-dungeon sort of save point and then a healing potion, and another loading scene. And are we opening up? It's another save post. Right, okay, so I have no doubts whatsoever we're about to get to the end of this dungeon. Gonna save this up, obviously, because I don't want to have to do it all again. And yeah, it's going to be a boss. Let's brace ourselves for what is possibly the first boss fight in this game. Right, what's this exclamation mark? It's, yeah, we have a cutscene here. And yep, the tree, and that tree does not look inviting at all. It's certainly not now that it's moving. And here we go. So how do we beat this boss? I don't know. It looks too big just to take on with my little pickaxe things there. Right, okay. Got to defeat them. Get that, watch closely. They'll have a weak point, right, okay, so looking for a weak point. Stronger enemies, bosses, protected by a shield. Pay close attention to the enemy shield gauge as well. Okay. Right, I've got a still pack. Yeah, I know I've got like items that I can heal myself with, which is handy. And oh, laser beams. Oh, and the laser beams, they're telegraphing the attack. Well, that's handy. But I don't see any weak points at the moment. I might not. There we go, and it tells us. There we go, it's holding her hand a little bit, but it still managed to shoot me. I'm going to probably stop talking as I try and work out this part. So far so good. We're getting the laser beams, warning you where not to stand. Oh, right in the middle there. And then hopefully that the weak point comes out and we're killing that worm. But he's... Right, I've been electrocuted. And yeah, I need to check how I'm doing here, because obviously I don't want to die. Get that down my neck, and here we go again. Laser beams. This is easy. This is a nice simple boss fight, and I'm still taking a beating from it. That's great. But come on, when's it time for... Right, get into that worm. And I'm noticing the health bar's going down quite well. I jumped that stupid attack that time. Come on. Right, okay. Back to the laser beams. And more laser beams. Yep, more laser beams. Stand out the way and rush in, because this must be it. This is it. Come on. And there we go. The first boss down. So there's the first boss battle, and you know what, that was quite interesting. It wasn't too hard. I didn't expect it to be too hard, because obviously they don't want to throw too much at you right at the beginning of the game. It's given us a taste that we have a dungeon here, probably multiple dungeons, because there was a fairly substantial world map. And here I go, onwards. And no, there's no getting through that. So it's probably just a case of now going back and taking that resource, that great tree branch, back to the old guy who sent me on this mission. But I realise that this video is going to go on and on, because I'm just thoroughly enjoying what I'm playing here, and I can see so many ways that this game's going to progress already. So I'm going to wrap up my gameplay here and go to an outro, because I might even upload my full gameplay without commentary to YouTube for you to watch if you want to watch the whole thing. But so far, so very good. So let's go back to the outro. So there you go, my friends, that's my first couple of hours on Eiyuden Chronicles Rising, and what did I think? Well, hopefully you watched the gameplay and listened to the commentary and you know that I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yes, it's nothing like Suikoden, it's probably nothing like 100 Heroes when that finally comes out, which hopefully will be much more traditional JRPG with turn-based combat, but who knows, I'm just hoping that's what it looks like it's going to be, but we'll have to wait and see anyway. But let's get back to Rising. Rising was fantastic what I played of it. It does give you that Suikoden feel. It draws back graphics from an earlier time where Suikoden, when the PlayStation first came out and everyone was doing polygons, 3D, Suikoden, when they delivered that game with the 16-bit pixel art, it was just chef's kiss perfection. And I'm glad they've went back and stayed with that style. And this is one of the things that's making it a spiritual successor, despite the development team working on the game. But the look and feel, and hopefully how many characters come into this, because that is a big part of Suikoden. Rising itself is not turn-based as you've seen, it's action RPG, but Metroidvainia action RPG, a bit of side-scrolling beat-em-up. It's just wonderful how many little mechanics have got into the game. Not too difficult to start with, which was good because I don't play a lot of action RPGs, so I got into the combat really quickly. If you want to talk about this game, drop that down into the comments, because the interaction between you and me, well, that's what makes YouTube special for me. Thank you very much for watching as always, and until next time, cheerio!